Hello, and welcome to this Kennel Connection training video. This video is going to show you how your employees can use the time clock to punch in and out, and then you're able to print the timesheet to calculate their hours. The first thing we have to do is go under a file and employees. Every employee that's going to use the time clock needs to have their own ID in here. So we're going to add somebody new. If you ever need to add a new employee, you always want to hit new first. You need to put an ID and a password, and this is whatever you think is best for your business. Their last and first name. This is all that's required when you're entering an employee, but you could add their contact info or anything else on the screen that you'd like to. The next thing you can do on this screen is go to the payroll info tab, and you can add their pay rate, and this will calculate on the timesheet if you decide to do that. So let's say this person makes $19 an hour. You have to put their rate and save, and then we can use that later. The next screen we're going to go to is under File and System Options. And there's two features in here related to the time clock and the report. The first option is over here that says Enable Login on Time Clock Functions. If you check this box, that means when an employee punches in or out, they're going to be required to enter their password. The other option is how the report calculates the hours, and that's the Show Timesheet Hours in Hundreds. So if you use hundreds, of course that's a decimal place. But if you turn this off, it will show it in tenths, and that is hours and minutes. So that's the most common way people use this report, so that's what we're going to do. Now when it's time to punch, they're going to go up to the little time clock at the very top of the screen, or they can go to Accounting, and the time clock's also in here. They need to choose their name from the drop down, and if they're going to punch in or out, and then they punch. Now for me, I turned on the password, so I have to put the password in now. And it will tell you that they successfully punched in or out. The other thing they can do on the screen is show their hours that they've worked so far. So they would choose their name from the drop down. They can either do current pay period or the previous pay period, and it will just show them, it shows them their punches and does a calculation for them. Now as your employees are punching in and out, all of those are recorded back in the employee setup under the time card tab. So you're able to go in here and scroll through your employees and monitor this list. You can adjust if you need to. Maybe they forgot to punch, you can add it. Maybe they punched by mistake, you can delete it. So for example, for James, he punched in at 5:07, but he actually forgot to punch in this morning when he got here. So we're going to fix it. So you would just click on this punch and you're going to modify it. So maybe he got here at 8 in the morning. And he left at 5:07. He punched out. So we have to choose the date. And then what time did he leave? PM. Now when you're adding a punch or you have to modify, you also have to tell it a reason why you're doing that. And these are the options that we have. So for example, we're going to do miss punch. Now you can add a note here. This is not required, but it does print on the timesheet report if you'd like to see it. You can also say who approved it. Maybe that's something that you'd like to do. Now when it's time to print your report, you would go to Reports and Revenue, and it's called Timesheet. It's all the way at the bottom. Now on this screen, you can either choose a specific employee. If you leave it blank, it will print all the employees on one report. If you do leave it blank and you want to print everybody, you also have this option for one employee per page. So that means one employee's information is on one sheet only, and then the next person will be on the next sheet. This is a good option if you require that your employees sign their timesheet. It's so you can print everybody at one time, but they're split up on their own individual pages. We also have this option to show wages. This is how it calculates the wage part. So you just need to put whatever date range is your pay period. And for our example, we're going to choose a specific person. So we're going to choose Helen. So this is an example of the report. It has all of her punches for the time range that I chose. This last punch for July 22nd, you'll see there's a reason on there. So this is some sick time that she had to use. So I put a reason. Don't forget that's not required, but it's kind of nice to show on the report. Then we have this employee wages column, and that's because I clicked the box to show that. I'm going to show you what it looks like without having that, in case you don't want to use it. So we will go back and print our timesheet again. And we choose our date range, and we're going to choose Helen. And we're not going to check show wages. So this is what it looks like instead. Now, for example, if Helen worked on the 17th, it doesn't show on here, that means either she forgot to punch or it was an incomplete punch. So if somebody only punches in and they do not punch out, or vice versa, the system has no way to calculate that, so it would skip it or not include it on this report. So if you ever see that, hey, this person was supposed to work on the 17th, you want to go back in their time card and just adjust that if you need to. Now, where some people get tripped up on this report is they want to double check it, so they add it up and it does not match what this report says. And when that happens, it's because they're not adding the minutes up correctly. So let me show you what I mean. So let's pretend like I'm going to add this up just to match it up. So the first thing I would do is add up all of those hours. And this is 36 hours. The next thing I would do is add up all these minutes. Whoops, not subtract. And this is 109. Now, in order to calculate that for this report, I need to say 109 divided by 60. And that is 1.82. So this is where people get tripped up. They think the report should be 37.82, but that 82 is not minutes. That is a percentage of minutes. So to calculate that, we have to say 82 times 0.6, and that's 49. So my total is 36, plus that hour from the 182 is 37, and then 49 minutes. So if you ever have a question on this, you can always give us a call. It's just important, if you decide to add this report, you need to calculate your minutes correctly. Now there's two things that may happen with this, either the time clock itself or the report, that you may have issues, and I'm going to show you how to fix them. The first issue would be you have an employee, they punch in every day like they're supposed to. They come in one day to punch in and it tells them they actually have to punch out before they punch in. So let's take Julie for example. She's coming in, she's going to punch. She punched in and out yesterday like she's supposed to. But when she comes in today to punch, it tells her she has to clock out before she clocks in. Anytime you see this message, the reason is because this employee has a future punch on her card that's confusing the system and you need to delete it. So all you do is you come up, if you ever have that for Julie, you would come into your employee setup and you would go to the time card for her. So this is our pay period, it's not related to this. You would hit next up here and go to the next pay period and the next until you find this future punch. So here it is. So if we find one, we have to delete it because that's why it's telling her that. So you would just click on it and delete. And now she'll be able to punch. Now you may have to go pretty far into the future, but it would only take a few minutes to click to go years into the future. But that's how you fix that particular issue. Now the other issue you may see is that you try to print the report, it spins for a minute and nothing happens. When that happens, it means that an employee has a punch that's reversed, meaning that the dates are either reversed or the times are reversed. So let's look at Bob here. We've got to get back to our pay period that we're looking at. Okay, here we go. So if you look at Bob, you'll see this punch for 7/22. He punched in at 5:03 p.m. and he punched out at 8 a.m. So because the times are reversed, Kennel Connection cannot calculate what that's supposed to be, and that's why the report doesn't print. It could be the dates are reversed, so if he punched in on July 20th and punched out on July 19th, it would be reversed, and this would also cause it not to print. But the most common reason we see this is because the times are reversed. So it's important to note that Kennel Connection does not have a calendar and it does not have a clock. It just reads whatever your computer says. So if this is a continual problem, either your date or time is not correct on your computer or someone is changing that, and it's something you'd have to address on the computer itself. Now for this, all you have to do is fix it. So we need to fix it. You just modify it. So he came in at 8:09 a.m. And he left at 5:03, I believe it was, p.m. And that's all you have to do to fix it. Don't forget we have to add a reason. So because everything is in the correct order now, the report will print. So that's the other thing you may run into. Other than these two issues, this is a very nice feature. There's not much setup to do other than to make sure everybody has their own IDs, and then you can print the report for any date range that you'd like. If you have questions on this, you can give us a call at 888-486-4343, option 2, or you can email us at support@kennelconnection.com. Thanks for watching.